Hey, what's up? What's going on, YouTube? Back again with another video, man. So today, it is Tuesday, February 17th, like a couple days after Valentine's Day. And I just want to, talk about a little bit of love and, a little bit of honesty I had to come to realize about myself. And that's why, I actually had to name the video what I did. I mean, it might hurt some people, but you know, um, being ugly then versus now, what changed for me? And this is on the season or on the brink of Valentine's Day, and I had to be honest with myself, and I had to say to myself, look, listen, you're not the most handsome dude, but you know, where your looks don't play a part in who you are, as a person, it does play a part in your marketability. So you gotta, shave. You gotta keep yourself clean. Make sure your hygiene is well taken care of. Make sure you don't have no issue body odor, sweat, or anything like that. But luckily, I'm not gonna say I scathed, like nothing happened to me. Of course, we all got our kinks or our different different things about us that make us stand out. And honestly, the fact is, like, when I wear white shirts, for some reason I can't wear them again because I get this stain under them, like I don't know if it's the deodorant that's coming off on the white clothes, and it comes off on all my clothes, right? But that's something that I haven't yet to understand or figure out. But that's one of the things that yeah, that I had to work with, being a man and growing up and understanding, like, yo, well, like, women don't want a musty man, women don't want this, and women don't want that. But when I was younger, I was more fearful of talking to people, or putting myself out there, or at least talking to women. But this rush came inside of me, like when I was 18, 18, I say like 18, 19, and I saw this girl, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, at some point I want to, have kids with her. I want to sleep with this woman. I want to have this woman. I want to, be with this woman for the rest of my life. And I just kept chasing her relentlessly. And I was like, yo, like, I like you. I want to talk to you. I want to think, boom, boom. But I said that to her, but the way I went about it was different, because I was more funnier then. I was more like, like laughing and making jokes. Even though she wasn't that funny at the time, still, I had to crack jokes and make her, more comfortable, feel comfortable around me, I should say. And, let her guard down a bit. And, we made up nicknames for each other. And, we started talking, and, one thing led to another. And then, she got cracked. But before any of that, I was very self-conscious of myself. I thought, I was like ugly because, like, coming up, I would always hear, yo, you ugly, boom, boom. But as I grew and, I became older, and I became a man, and I started to see, like, it only gets you but so far. Your looks only get you but so far. And for the people who have these aesthetics, which are very, very pleasing on the eyes, I can say, like, good for you. I hope you use it at the best of your ability and you don't fuck it up. Me, I had to work on myself. I had to develop who I was on the inside rather than on the outside, because it only gets you but so far. Your outside only gets you but so far. The inside is a person who controls everything. It controls how you react to somebody saying you ugly. It reacts to, like, the compliments you do receive. It does. It's just something about the inside, not the outside. The outside can change. One day you can be the blackest person in the room. Trust me, I've been told that several times. The ugliest person, boom, I have a big nose, big lips, and everything. Like, everything. You name it, I've heard it. Only thing I really didn't I really didn't get the the you look African, boom boom. I really didn't get that, but that came one time. I was in public school. I was like in sixth grade. I had just started going to school down here in New York, and somebody said, "Yo, you look like you're African," and they made a joke, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, yeah," but I told them, "Yo, I'm from the island. I'm from Barbados," and most people was, "You Jamaican, you Jamaican," and I'm like, "No, I'm not Jamaican," but that time still had the accent. I was like, yeah, whatever, boom. But with all my childhood experiences and everything, it just led me to like, yo, well, it depends on who you're around, and who actually care about you, who actually want to know you, who like you, who enjoys the pleasure of being around you. All right, so there's a lot of stuff I had to realize. So I don't really like be around people like I have nothing in common with, or people I can't really stand, I should say. Um, as you know it, I travel, I work, I do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you still want somebody to, live with, somebody to, smash and grab and, do the necessary things as a man. You think about the things, right? So I'm telling you this because I don't know if it's gonna work for you the same way it worked for me, but sometimes you gotta say, fuck it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. You've been asking, you've been telling yourself, look, hey, I want to talk to this girl. I want to talk to this woman. I want to talk to this, this guy, or, whoever, whether it's a woman or a man, you're whoever's listening to this, vice versa, the sex you're after. You got to say, hey, fuck it, And I'm going to be honest with you. Looks do not get you that far. It does not get you that far in life. And that's pertaining towards like friendships and solidarity with people, because you can look as beautiful as who's beautiful to me. Damn, I don't know, a lot of women are beautiful to me, but once you get to actually know them, it's like, yeah, you're not I don't like being around you. I get this feeling like, yeah, you just seem like you're too stupid, or you might not be that intelligent, or you might not understand what I'm telling you, and I have to step back. So I'm like, yeah, I'll leave you to wander in the world and just be yourself, and other times you just attract women. Some women like ugly men. No, I'm not gonna lie, some women like ugly men. And the thing about it is, like, if at any point they ever say to you like, hey, you're I don't care, you ugly. Yeah, but you wasn't saying that when, you was, giving me fellatio. You wasn't saying that when I was lifting you up, walking you through the house. You didn't say none of that when, we was outside, we was in the car, we was here, we was there. You didn't say any of that while we were, so why are you saying it now, right? That's something I had to really say to myself. I was like, yo, like, yeah, you just acting up. You're trying to pick at straws, and it's nothing for you to pick at. But you feel how you feel. I'm moving how I'm moving. So this stuff you got to realize. Women will pick at the finest things and just try to, destroy you as a person. All right. So, oh boy, here we go. Anyway, yeah. So just stuff I had to learn and figure out. But yeah, I don't know, man. A lot of people are not, on the good looking side of things, and I promise you, when you're young, you're like probably like, I say from like 18 to like 27, 28, you don't know who you are. You do not know for those 10 years, 10, 11, until you like 30, you do not know who you are. You do not know what you stand for most of the time. This is for regular folks. This is not for you if you out there and you feel like, oh, I'm king, I'm God, boom. Because you sound like that. Listen to me. You sound like that when you're outside. When you're outside around your friends, you've got people around you, boom. But who's the person when after after the noise stops, after, you calm down, like who's this person that, boom, like you going in the shower and crying, or you crying outside, or like what you dealing with this, I can't say, it hasn't happened to me, because I was younger and I was very insecure about my looks. I was very insecure about, just the way I dressed, how big my feet were, how, fat I was, and, how dark I was, and all this stuff. And then, at a certain point, it just changed. It just changed when I stopped caring. I had to take my focus off of how I looked and put it more into, getting to know people and find out more about people, and just carry myself at, I would say, better. I started carrying myself better. I started taking care of myself. I started, I ain't stopped. I ain't put down a plate, but still, I realized something too, and it might go back to a touchy subject, but something that I notice about my body, and something that I notice happens now all the time. When I go to Barbados, for some reason, I get slim. I lose a lot of weight. And when I'm in New York, it is like, it just comes back for some reason. It comes back and it comes back and it comes back, because I don't get as much exercise. I don't have to walk. I don't have to walk in the hot sun as much, despite what you think. So I get more exercise when I travel back home and I go see my family. So that's something I realized, like, you got to get outside, you got to travel, you got to actually walk, you got to exercise, you got to, do like more outgoing stuff. You got to put yourself out there more often than what you are now already. If you are, not saying bedridden, but you're behind a computer, or you're playing your video games, or you're just, you're just in the house, you got to get outside, you got to walk, and you got to feel that sun. I know it might sound stupid, but yeah, I was like 216 pounds. Now I'm probably like a good 238 probably now. Like, since I've been back, 238, 240 now. So I got to watch what I eat now. And, plus Ramadan is today. And for those of you who don't know, Ramadan is like, to me, I have a couple of Muslim friends who, wanted to, make me, well, not make me, but I had my own thoughts of, just, taking a pledge and just becoming Muslim, because you only need 3 people, who know you as a character, as a person, to say, well, hey, if you trust in Allah, you be straight, and, they would have, made me a Muslim. But I didn't want to go against my faith, because despite what you think, faith, it takes you so far, and I believe there's one God, and Jesus is the Son of God. I don't believe Jesus was God, and there's a lot of things that I've dealt with personally, which I had to learn the hard way, which now is easy to me now. I understand it more, so I'm not gonna, just exploit Ramadan and say, well, Jesus this and Jesus that, because, to them, it's their God. Allah is their God, and, God is my God / Yahweh / whoever you choose to call him. There's only one God, all right? But with all of that said, like, you got to know who you are. You got to find out your faith. You got to find out everything about yourself. And trust me, it builds and it builds and it builds not only your character, but it builds who you are on the inside. It changes the ugly person which people see into a friendly and more open person that, people are more welcoming and talking to, or, they would like to have a conversation with you, or I think there's this saying that, you've been in the presence of an angel and you haven't even known. So take that with, a little salt on it, I would say. So, just be good to people, and people will be good to you. I had to take my heart out of a lot of stuff which I used to care for, and now it's just like, yeah, it comes and it goes, and every year there's something new. There's always something new. So took my heart out of it, and spending money on clothes is not gonna change a person you are. Buying all of this stuff, and even if you go and you get a body, get your body changed or whatever, it's still in you. It's in your DNA. Innately, it's in your DNA. So you can't change anything. Who you are is who you are as a person, and it's gonna come out whether you find a woman and you sleep with her and you have kids and you multiply. Your kids are gonna look like the person you were before you got your teeth fixed, or your nose done, or your eyes colored, or whatever the hell you did. But that's you. It's in your DNA. All right. So take everything with a grain of salt. A lot of shit happened, man. Like a time to I'm talking to, well, this is me personally. I'm talking to my baby mother, and she tried to say, "Oh, you ugly," and I'm like, "Oh, really? Like I was telling you guys before, you wasn't calling me ugly when you was, you know what I mean, and you wasn't calling me ugly then. So don't call me ugly now. Know your place." And it's not to like dismiss her, but it's just like, yeah, I've really had enough of you talking bullshit. So let's move on to something else. Because that's not solving no problems. That's just you talking about shit I can't control and you can't control. The fact is, you don't even love me. You love what I can do for you. You love the way I loved you, and just let that go. So I had to kill that the way it is. So yeah, like there's just certain things you start to realize as you become older and more mature. And when you're younger, you don't have the mindset to say, well, let me defend myself and no. Somebody says something loud to you or whatever, boom. They're getting out of their character. You obviously pressed the nerve for them. So you just gotta, be yourself. No matter how ugly you are or however you look, just be yourself. 95% of the times, it gets you farther than you would if you would have pretended to be somebody else, or you tried to cut off something which came naturally to you. Anyway, yeah, I feel like I got a little bit off. I feel like, yeah, that should be enough for you guys. But if you stayed and you listened, I want to thank you. I know I talked for like 20 minutes, and I'm gonna talk again. But yeah, that's something that was on my chest. I felt like I needed to get a few things off. Anyway, I'll holler at y'all later. Hope you stay safe, stay blessed.